Hi there. Thank you for clicking on my video today. My name is Julie Baum, and you have found me here on YouTube at Stamp with Julie Baum. This is a impromptu video. I am preparing some cards, and I thought, oh, I should probably film some of this because this is a great card design to share. I am actually doing a Zoom meeting coming up on March 24th with some of the gals in my downline. So we're doing a team meeting, and during that team meeting, we will be doing a mystery stamping project. So this is actually going to be the mystery stamping project. So by the time you see this video posted on YouTube, it will be after March 24th, 2022, because I don't want to spoil the surprise. But I've had so much fun, even just preparing the pieces, that I did want to catch this and put it in a card tutorial for you. So I have been really using a lot of the in colors. Now these are the in colors that are about to retire. So these have been the 20, let's see, how does it work? The 2019 through 2021 colors. Let me see if that's the right years. We always have two sets of in colors at any given time, and in colors are good for 2 years. And then they rotate out so that we can bring in some new colors. So these 5 colors that are getting ready to rotate out are, okay, so sorry, the way they're dated, these would be the 2020 through the 2022 colors, even though they are going to retire coming up here in May of 2022. The 5 colors are Cinnamon Cider, Just Jade, Bumblebee, Magenta Madness, and Misty Moonlight. They're found here in the current annual catalog on page 123. So I have been busy using up some of this colored cardstock, and I also wanted to use this beautiful paper that I am not tired of. I'm going to really be sorry to see it go. It is called Sweet Symmetry. I feel like it was kind of a sleeper. It might have been a pattern of a group of paper that you didn't really get excited about the patterns until you see them live. And then they are just spectacular. I love them so much. So these papers actually coordinate with a suite of products called Sweet Symmetry. For a short time longer, you can actually get a bundle, which would be this really cute punch and the stamp set. So the bundle is offered at a 10% savings, and that will become unbundled if this is carried over into the next catalog. Then you'll have to buy the stamp set and the punch separately. But I wanted to point this out mostly because this is the paper that I am using. Now, I don't have the stamp set. I just never purchased it this last year, but I do have this stamp set, which I think coordinates with it nicely. This is called Lovely You, so I'm going to be using this just a teeny bit. All right, let me show you the pieces. You need a piece of cardstock that measures 5.5 by 6.5. All right, so here's my Just Jade piece. This is the 5.5 inch length. This is the 6.5 inch length. And then you want to put it in your Simply Scored or into your paper trimmer with a scoring blade and score it at 4 1/4. Right, that way when that panel folds, now we actually have a very standard size card base. So again, this is on the 6.5 inch side, scored at 4 1/4. Then you'll also need a piece of the same color cardstock. This is 3.5 by 3.5, and it is scored at 3/4 of an inch. Now, as an alternate way to do this, this piece could also be a different color of cardstock instead of matching, as long as it coordinates with whatever designer series paper you're using. So when I'm finished here, I'll show you some of the other pieces that I have cut and matched up and show you how that alternate looks as well. Then you're going to need a piece of basic white cardstock. And as always, if you're using designer paper that has a vanilla in it instead of white, then where I'm saying white, you would substitute vanilla. But this designer paper is set on a white background. So this piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4. That's actually going to be the inside panel of our card. And on this card, the inside panel is necessary. Sometimes on a colored card base, you might choose to not put a white panel on the inside, but this one's going to be necessary. All right, then a couple pieces of designer series paper. So I have this piece, which is 2 inches by 5 1/4. A second piece that coordinates with your first piece. This one is 2 1/4 by 3 1/2. No, scratch that. Let me say it better. It is 2 1/2 by 3 1/4. Okay, and then I have chosen an additional strip of paper. This could be anything that coordinates with your top two, either matching or something that coordinates. This is just an extra accent piece that I'm going to put on the inside. So if you want to use an accent piece, you're going to need a piece that is 1/2 inch by 5 1/4. And this one actually looks long. I bet I didn't trim it yet. Yeah, this one started out at 6 inches as I was trimming my paper. So let me give this one a quick trim so we'll be ready to go. So what I did this morning is I got several, I'm talking like 16 card bases and all the components cut so that I can put together these cards. And that's why I have a whole stack and all different looks. All right, so we're going to finish this one. Let me show you these and then I will slide them out of the way. So this is really pretty on the misty moonlight. And this piece is, also an option. So on this panel, the card that I'm going to make for you in just a moment, the 2 inch by 5 1/4 inch piece of designer series paper is going to go there. But as a lovely option, you might choose to put a piece of plain cardstock that has been run through an embossing folder, and that takes the place of this piece, and it's very effective as well. So that's what's actually going to go on this one with my parts. Okay, so this embossed piece is just an replacement or an alternate to this piece. And then I have this one again on the Just Jade, but with some different papers. Let me dig down a couple layers. Here's this one with some of the bumblebee print, the designer series paper. So you can see how gorgeous this paper is. And when you change your cardstock color to start matching it up, you can get all kinds of different looks. So as I mentioned, I have 16 of these ready to go that I'll be putting together as thank you notes. Tonight, which is March 22nd, is going to be my Stamp and Bingo night, which happens on my Facebook Live page. That's a virtual event that anyone is welcome to join. So these are going to become thank you notes to some of the participants that play bingo tonight. All right, so I'm going to move a little bit more of that aside. The last thing that you'll need as far as parts that go together with your card is you're going to need a label or a tag piece that has been punched or die cut. I will let you know that the length of your label should be at least 2.5 inches long. Now we have one punch. It's the Everyday Label Punch that is just barely big enough, but it really is not my favorite. And all of our other punches are not long enough. So I would recommend that you look through your dies and find some dies that would work, that qualify in the 2.5 inch length category, okay? So I have some, this is from Stitched So Sweetly. That's a great one. This one is from Hippo Happiness. That shape and that size works just great. And then Tasteful Labels is another option, and both of these are from Tasteful Labels. So you need a tag or a label shape. Go ahead and cut it out, and it needs to be 2.5 inches long. All right, so to put this card together, I'm quickly going to attach my designer series paper. So I'm using liquid glue, and we'll start with that 2-inch piece, 2 by 5 1/4, and attach it to the front, this folded panel. That's going to be the very front of the card. Then I am going to attach the next piece. So that's this piece, which is 2.5 by 3 1/4. I love how when you're using a lot of our papers, you flip it over to get ready to glue it, and then you're like, oh, that is so pretty too. I'm sure I used that one on some of these other cards that I have set up to go, because that's super pretty. This one is a little bit more understated with kind of the vine or the leaves. All right, so you've got that piece glued onto there. Now there's 2 different ways to do the next step. I'll show you the first one, and then I'll do the second way, which is the way I prefer. So you can either take this piece, which you've folded the flap back, you can place it onto your white piece, and at this point you are adjusting it so that it's in the middle here. You want it centered, and it's tucked right into the flap. So you can completely choose to do it this way, flip it over, put adhesive on the whole thing all at once, and then it's going to go into the card like so. I have felt when I've done this card before that it's just a little bit awkward to be holding on to that, make sure it doesn't slip, turn it over, put the adhesive. So what I've chosen to do is I take this piece that has the flap, and I use my tear and tape. I'm going to put 2 strips the whole length of that little flap, because I do want it to hold well. This is part of how the card is going to open and close. So I want this sealed down really good, or attached really well, so that it doesn't come up. And then I'll just release the backing of that, or of those. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the inside of the card. I am either using my grid mat here, or if you have some grid paper down, that is helpful too. But I just kind of want to eyeball this so that it's centered between the top and the bottom. And I'm going to place it not quite, let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2, yeah. Not quite at the very edge of my paper, so not flush with it, but about as close as you can get without getting right up to the edge. So I'm going to say it's about maybe 1/8 of an inch away, maybe smaller. All right, so it doesn't quite line up flush with the edge, but it's very, very close to the edge. All right, then I'm going to press that down very well. Now I can just take my liquid glue and attach the white piece, and you'll see how this is just going to fit into there. So like I said, you might find method number 1 easier. It's 1 step less. It's just that you have to make sure you hold it all together when you're gluing and flipping it over. Okay, so now I'm going to eyeball all of my margins so they're as equal as possible. And this is laying inside that flap, as you can see, like so. All right, easy, but very effective. Okay, so this is how this is going to go. This is going to be folded this way. This flap is actually going to fold on top. And then we're going to bring in one of our tags. So I think, let's see, which words am I going to use? I think I'm going to use, well, I have more of these cut. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of these. This is from, what did I say? I think this is from Hippo Happiness. All right, so this is going to go on the front of the card like so. So let's get our stamping done. Now, if you wanted to do this super quick and easy, this could almost be a Simply Saturday card, but not quite. You could just stamp your greeting on here, attach it on here, and be done. But we're going to add either some stamping or some embellishments just to dress it up a little bit. As I mentioned, I don't have the In Symmetry stamp set. I'm using Lovely You, and I'm going to use the Just Because words from this set with just a black ink pad. All right, so that's going to go. Now, I could choose to put it right in the middle. I think I'm going to go a little off center because I will be adding a little bit more stamping to this. At the end of the video, I'll show you a few other cards that have been made the same design, but decorated or finished off a little bit differently. All right, so there's that. Now, from that same Lovely You stamp set, I'm going to use this leaf stamp and also that little flower just to dress this up a teeny bit. So I've got Just Jade ink. And I'll put my little leafy strip right there. And then I have the flower that I pointed out, and I will use, let's see, let's stamp it once in Bumblebee. That's one of the colors in our designer series paper. Clean that off because I'm not sure what color I used on it last time. Okay, so here's Bumblebee. I like it. And then let's also use another color that's in the paper, and this is Calypso Coral. Flirty Flamingo is also in this. Calypso Coral is a little bit orangier. Is that a word? More orange. And Flirty Flamingo is a little bit more pink, but they are similar. Okay, and this one's probably gonna hang off the edge here a little bit. Okay, and then at that point you could choose to grab some gems or some rhinestones. I'm gonna see what is just behind me with all of my embellishments. All right, I do have a little package here. It's marked in colored dots, but that's not a technical term. I do know that some of these little gems here on top are from this In Color collection. So I'm going to pull those out. Okay, let's embellish at the very end because we'll see better where we need those. Let's go ahead and attach this to our card. All right, as I mentioned, this flap is going to fold over this piece. And now we need to attach this piece so that it is attached under here, but left free here so that the card can open. All right, so I'm going to be using my tear and tape. And you can either eyeball this, or if you feel more comfortable, you can turn your tag over, keep it still in alignment of where you want it, and grab a pencil and just make marks, just so that you know that you can't put your adhesive past that or it's going to cause a problem. So back to my tear and tape. I will easily be able to fit 2 strips here without causing a problem with the mechanics of the card. All right. Let's get this attached. So as I mentioned, this is only going to get stuck over here. Anything that covers this green piece does not have adhesive on it. Like so. Now you can see that my card will open and close. And now we can just pop on some of these little embellishments. Let's use a couple of the bumblebee ones. Let's see. Okay, we're going to put 3 on here. So I'm actually going to put this yellow one over here. And I'll take a green and bring it over here. And now I can decide, I want to put one more here. This is actually cinnamon cider, but I think it looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead, even though there's not technically cinnamon cider in the paper, it totally coordinates. Let me get under this guy. All right, let's see here. Little embellishment difficulty. Some of these you need to pop up off of the plastic in order, there, to get underneath them. All right, so this is the 3rd one, and I'll just place it over here. Again, when it comes to the embellishments, you can kind of use what you have. And there we go. Now the last thing I'm going to do is put that piece of designer series paper on the inside. It's not super important because you can just write your message. You could also do a little bit of stamping on the inside. I would recommend that you stamp where it's not going to show, so I wouldn't put any stamping there. But this is a great way to just finish it off. And as I mentioned, this strip is a 1/2 inch by 5 1/4, which is the same length top to bottom as this white piece. So what a great way to use up some of your tiny scraps of designer series paper that you have, you know, after you've cut and used larger pieces, and you end up with some of those little scraps. There you have it. All right, let me bring in a couple of the others that I've done just so you can get an idea. Here is another one with the same In Symmetry paper, same tag shape. So this one's very similar. This one has the embossed paper instead of the designer series paper. All right, then I did a couple with the Pansy Petals paper. So here is that on fresh freesia cardstock. So a few embellishments and some ribbon. Same thing here. I've got some Pansy Petals designer paper. Again, kind of a rustic little shabby knot. One more with that paper. This time I used the smaller tag. This is the one that's punched. So as you can see, it's small. It works. I did have to do a little bit more decorating on the card because of the size of it. I really prefer the larger tags, but it would work. So if that's what you have, then great. So this one has some die cuts and some extras to decorate that. I'm trying to see if I did insides. Yeah, this one has an inside. And then the last one I did, this is a paper, this is in the spring, in the spring mini. I don't recall the name of it quite yet, but I just used the paper and some old embellishments that I had. So again, what's nice is you can start by using cardstock and paper and then just fill in as you go. This tag is from Painted Poppies. So there are 1 or 2 dies from Painted Poppies that would work as well. So that is my card tutorial for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I ask if you enjoyed this tutorial to please subscribe to my YouTube channel. That helps me a lot and I do so appreciate it. And if there are products that you would like to order, that also helps me very much. And I have a current host code. This code is good through the end of March 2022. And at checkout, you can insert that host code and that will show me also that you watched and enjoyed this tutorial and it prompted you to go to my store. Thanks for watching. See you next time.